My beloved child, there are forms of brokenness that do not come like thunder across the sky, nor do they appear through an event that makes you immediately realize you are in danger. Often, what drains you comes very quietly, very subtly, very steadily, like drops of water falling again and again upon stone, until even the stone is worn down. You think you are still fine because you still wake up, still work, still speak and smile, still continue with your daily responsibilities. But I see the hidden places within you gradually becoming tired, dry, and heavy. It is not because one day you suddenly collapse, but because for many days in a row, you have ignored the small signals I sent to awaken you. My child, destruction from within often begins with things you consider insignificant. A little delay in returning to me. A little compromise with what you know is not good. A little nurturing of bitterness instead of bringing your pain before me. A little allowing your mind to wander among things that make you restless. A little self-pity. A little comparison. A little envy. A little telling yourself, just this once. Then, all those little things gather into a silent current that pulls you away from peace. You do not realize you are changing direction, because each step away is so small. But after many small steps, you may look up and find yourself standing far from the place where I once called you to remain. I do not say this to frighten you, but to awaken you with love. The enemy of life within you does not always strike you with great falls. It prefers to make you grow accustomed to numbness. It makes you think that losing spiritual sensitivity is normal, that losing joy is simply because of life, that no longer praying with longing means you have matured, that no longer expecting goodness means you have become more realistic. It does not need you to openly abandon what is holy. It only needs you to slowly stop longing for it. It does not need to destroy the house in one night. It only needs to leave small cracks unrepaired until the foundation weakens while you remain unaware. Remember Samson, the one who was given great strength, yet gradually lost his watchfulness through choices that seemed private. He did not lose his strength in one random moment. He walked step by step toward danger, through times of treating boundaries lightly, through times of playing with what he should have avoided, through times of allowing confidence to overshadow obedience. When he realized he had become weak, his hair had already been cut, his eyes had been taken, and the freedom he once possessed had become chains. Do you see? The most frightening thing is not only falling, but failing to know that you are moving closer to the abyss. A person may carry the sign of a calling, but if they do not guard their inner life, they can still lose the sensitivity that once made them strong. My beloved child, I am calling you to look again at the small things in your day. What are you feeding yourself with? What thoughts are you allowing to repeat again and again? What words from others are you holding in your heart that should have been handed back to me? Where do you run whenever you are weary? Are you seeking comfort in what draws you farther from me, or in what brings you back to life? Do not take hidden choices lightly, because they are quietly building up or tearing down the person within you. A life does not collapse merely because of one storm. It often collapses because the foundation has been neglected for too long. I know there are days when you only want to give up caring. You say that you are too tired to change, too discouraged to begin again, too wounded to open your heart, too disappointed to hope. But my child, giving up is not rest. Giving up is when you let go of what should be held and grasp what should be released. True rest is placing yourself in me, allowing me to restore, guide, and realign what has gone astray. Giving up causes you to drift. Resting in me anchors you. Giving up makes you numb. Resting in me brings you back to life. There are problems that quietly grow when they are not named. A covered wound does not mean it has healed. A hidden habit does not mean it is harmless. A swallowed anger does not mean it has disappeared. A sorrow that is never brought into the light can turn into a closed heart. A small compromise can teach your heart to become familiar with darkness. Therefore, I invite you to courageously look at the truth, not with eyes of condemnation, but with the honesty of a child who knows that their Father is full of mercy. You do not need to fear my light. That light does not come to shame you. It comes to heal, to separate, and to return purity and peace to you. Begin with very small things, because if you have been worn down by small things, you can also be restored through small choices made in grace. Choose to stop before a toxic thought carries you too far. Choose to return to prayer, even if only with brief but sincere words. Choose to leave behind what pollutes your mind. Choose to forgive little by little, release little by little, and cleanse the inner space little by little. Choose to sleep in peace instead of lying down with anxiety. Choose to listen to me before listening to the noise of the world. Small choices placed in my hands can become the first stones used to rebuild what has grown weak. I do not demand that you change everything in a single day. I do not stand before you with a whip of punishment, but with an open hand. I know you are weary. I know there are places you have not dared to look at. I know there are habits you hate, yet still return to. Thoughts you want to release, yet still cling to. Fears you want to overcome, yet still tremble before. Therefore, I will not point out the cracks, and then leave you to repair them alone. I will be with you in every step of restoration. I will teach you to discern what nourishes you and what drains you. I will remind you when you begin to slip from the path. I will lift you when you stumble. I will rekindle within you a longing for true life. So today be watchful. Do not wait until everything breaks before you are willing to look back. Do not wait until peace is exhausted before seeking the water source. Do not wait until your heart becomes hardened before asking me to soften it again. Return to me in the smallest things. Let me enter the corners you have forgotten, the habits you have taken lightly, the choices you have justified for too long. I do not come to take away your joy. I come to rescue you from the things that pretend to be joy while quietly causing you to wither. I want you to live, not merely exist. I want you to shine, not merely endure. I want you to be healthy from within, steadfast in the light, and to realize that each day you choose me, you are being drawn out of silent collapse and brought back to the abundant life I have prepared for you. My beloved child, in this world, there are countless sounds competing to take hold of your heart. There is the voice of hurry, the invitation of fleeting pleasure, the whisper of things that feel pleasant, and the promises of paths that seem to bring freedom, but in the end leave only emptiness. I am still speaking to you, still calling you with enduring gentleness, still placing within you pure promptings, so that you may return to what is holy. But many times my voice is covered, not because I am silent, but because you have allowed too much noise to enter the deepest place within you. When your heart is filled with images, words, news, desires, comparison, and endless entertainment pulling at you, you will find it difficult to recognize my gentle guidance. My voice does not compete through noise. I do not push, force, or shout in order to win back your attention. I wait until you become quiet enough to hear. There are tables in the world laid out in brilliant splendor, but the food upon them does not nourish the life within you. They are covered with the colors of pleasure, decorated with promises of freedom, and served at the very moment you are tired, lonely, or longing to forget pressure. A habit that seems harmless at first can become a cord pulling you farther from me. A celebration that seems only like a way to relax can harden your heart toward purity. A small screen can swallow precious hours, causing you to wake up with a heavy mind, tired eyes, and a heart even farther from peace. You think you are being satisfied, but in truth, you are only being numbed. You think you are resting, but inside you are becoming more scattered, more dried out, and less able to hear the call from above. I do not hate joy, my child. I did not create you to live in sorrow, or to fear every beautiful thing. I gave you the ability to rejoice, to enjoy goodness, to rest, to laugh, and to feel the beauty of life. But there is a kind of joy that does not come from me, the kind of joy that draws you away from purity, makes you forget prayer, causes you to treat sacred things lightly, and leaves you emptier after tasting it than you were before. True joy brings you closer to the light. False satisfaction merely spreads a layer of sweetness over the hunger within, then leaves bitterness in you when all the laughter fades. Therefore, you must learn to discern between what restores you and what merely enchants you. Remember Daniel, when he was still a young man taken into a foreign palace. Before him was the king's table, with fine food, precious wine, honor, opportunity, and the pressure to blend into a culture that did not revere me. If viewed only with natural eyes, it was a privilege. If listened to only through the voice of the world, it was a golden door leading to higher status. But Daniel understood that not everything placed on the king's table should be brought into his life. He chose purity over comfort, faithfulness over convenience, and keeping himself for me, rather than trading his inner life for outward approval. And I sustained him. I gave him wisdom, discernment, and a beauty that came from obedience. Do you see? There are banquets that look noble, but cause you to lose sensitivity. And there are quiet refusals that open the way to true dignity. In the same way, you are living in an age where many tables are laid before your eyes. The table of comparison causes you to always feel lacking. The table of social media makes you accustomed to seeing life through selected fragments of brightness, then returning with the feeling that your own life is small and less radiant. The table of lust promises to give you a sense of being filled, yet weakens purity and the ability to love rightly. The table of excessive entertainment makes you forget your pain for a moment, but it never heals the root. The table of busyness makes you think you are important, yet steals the quiet space where I want to meet you. Not everything you consume stays outside of you. What you look at, listen to, meditate on, and allow to repeat again and again will gradually shape the way you will feel, choose, and believe. I want you to guard your mind as you would guard a sacred garden. If you allow every seed to fall into it, do not be surprised when thorns grow. If every day you allow impure images, poisonous words, conversations that cool your faith, and habits that pull you into dullness to enter, then my voice within you will be covered by layers of noise, not because I have become weaker, but because you have allowed your heart to become too crowded. I want to cleanse that place, not with harshness, but with light. I want you to know that every time you quiet the noise to seek me, you are opening the door for life to return. Every time you say no to something that draws you away from me, you are saying yes to peace. Every time you choose silence instead of being swept along by temptation, you are restoring order within yourself. Do not fear the quiet, my beloved child. Many people fear silence because in silence they must face the emptiness they have tried to cover. They turn up the sound so they do not have to hear the cry of their own hearts. They fill their days with amusements so they do not have to feel the deep lack within. They run from one thing to another, not because they are truly joyful, but because if they stop, they will realize they are thirsty. But it is precisely where you dare to stop that I will meet you. It is precisely where you cease running that I will touch you. It is precisely where you let every noise settle that you will realize I have never been far away. I am still there, gentle, patient, full of love, waiting for you to turn your face toward the light. I do not call you out of the noise to make your life poorer. I call you out of the noise so you can hear again what is truly valuable. I do not tell you to release false satisfactions so that you may live in lack. I tell you to release them because I have a fullness that will not leave you ashamed after receiving it. What comes from me does not leave heaviness, secrecy, dependence, or distance within you. What comes from me makes you purer, stronger, more loving, and freer. When you drink from my source, you no longer need to keep seeking muddy drops from the world. When you are filled by my love, you are no longer easily bought by empty promises. When you know where true joy is found, false tables gradually lose their power to attract you. So today, return to watchfulness. Ask me what is taking up too much space in your life. Courageously look at the habits that draw you away from my presence. Offer me your eyes, your ears, your mind, the time you have wasted, and the desires you have sought to fill in the wrong places. I do not come to shame you. I come to deliver you from the things that have quietly ruled over you. Let me teach you to love silence, to love purity, and to love my presence more than every fading voice. And when the noise of the world no longer reigns within you, you will hear my voice more clearly. Gentle, steady, pure, leading you away from every false banquet and back to the source of life that never runs dry. My beloved child, there is a kind of lostness deeper than every earthly wandering. It is when a person walks through life no longer remembering to whom they belong. They still wake up each morning, still work, still speak and smile, still chase after what the world calls success. But within, they are dry like land that has gone long without rain. They think they are living, but they are only moving by habit. They think they are free, but they are being led by noise, by fear, by comparison, and by the thirst to be recognized. They may see the sunlight, yet fail to recognize the true light calling them home. They may hear thousands of sounds each day, yet fail to hear my gentle voice whispering in the depths. You are mine. You were created for a holy purpose, greater than what you are pursuing. I see many people who are weary, not because they lack opportunities, but because they lack identity. They do not know who they are, so they allow others to name them. One criticism is enough to make them doubt their worth. One failure is enough to make them conclude that their life is meaningless. One rejection is enough to push them into feeling unworthy of love. They live like an unanchored boat, drifting along the current of public opinion, joyful today because they are praised, shattered tomorrow because they are forgotten. But my child, human beings were not created to live by the breath of recognition from the world. No one can truly stand firm if the foundation within is built only upon the gaze or words of others. There are people who seek themselves in money, but the more they have, the more they fear losing it. There are people who seek themselves in power, but the higher they stand, the lonelier they become. There are people who seek themselves in appearance, but every change brought by time causes them to become anxious. There are people who seek themselves in relationships, then lose their peace just to make someone stay. They do not always move away from me through obvious rebellion. Often it happens through small steps, through growing used to living without asking, making decisions without listening, and running to every other place before running to me. And little by little, their inner life becomes barren, not because I have stopped loving them, but because they have moved away from the water source that can refresh all things. Remember the story of the prodigal son. That son left his father's house with his inheritance in hand, thinking that freedom meant being able to go far away, live according to his own desires, and taste everything outside without remaining under the familiar roof. At first, perhaps, everything looked like a radiant life. There was laughter, friends, banquets, and days that seemed as though they would never end. But when the outward things ran out, he realized that he too was running dry. When his possessions were gone, the applause also disappeared. When he had nothing left to give, those who had once surrounded him also left, and in the lowest place, amid hunger and shame, he began to remember home. Do you see? What saved him was not finding yet another false pleasure, but remembering that he was still his father's son. In the same way, many people only begin to awaken when the things they relied on begin to collapse. When the mast can no longer hide exhaustion. When success is no longer enough to give them peace. When the crowd is no longer enough to make them feel less alone. When the things that once promised satisfaction leave within them an even greater emptiness. I do not rejoice in seeing people suffer, but I can use that very emptiness as a bell, calling them to return for. Sometimes, only when false water sources run dry, do people realize how deeply they thirst for the true water. And I still stand there, not closing the door, not turning my face away, not saying that it is too late for them. I am the Father, and my love always recognizes the footsteps of a child returning, even when those footsteps are trembling and covered in the dust of the road. My beloved child, the true identity of a person does not begin with profession, status, achievements, past, or wounds. It begins with me. Before people were called by any name in the world, I knew them. Before they learned how to prove themselves, I placed worth within them. Before they made mistakes, stumbled, were wounded, or misunderstood, I had a good intention for their lives. When people forget this, they will always try to build a self out of fragile materials. But when they return to me, they begin to understand that they are not the sum of their failures, not the echo of insults, not the shadow of others' expectations, but beloved creations, called, guided, and restored by holy hands. Therefore, I do not want you to know about me only as a distant idea. I want you to live in connection with me every day. A branch cannot remain green if it cuts itself off from the vine. A stream cannot flow if it is separated from its source. A lamp cannot shine if it is separated from the oil. In the same way, human beings cannot preserve life within if they continue living far from my presence. They may continue functioning, continue achieving, and continue appearing before others as though everything is fine. But the hidden place within will gradually dry up if it is not watered by my love, truth, and grace. Do not despise the quiet moments before me, my child. Do not treat returning to me as a secondary matter after everything else is finished. It is in meeting me that you are reminded of who you are. It is in my light that the lies clinging to you fall away. It is in my love that cracks are touched without condemnation. When you are near me, you do not need to shout to prove your worth. You do not need to chase every door out of fear of missing out. You do not need to live by comparison, because you know that your path rests in my hands. A person who remembers that they belong to me walks differently, gentle but not weak, humble but not self-despising, loving but not losing themselves, strong but not hardened. I am calling the lost to return, not with threats, but with patient love. I am calling them out of the paths that make their hearts wither. I am calling them out of a life that only knows how to exist, but does not know how to worship. I am calling them out of false garments, false names, and patterns that make them forget their original beauty. And I am also calling you to be watchful, so that you do not get swept into the same current. Do not live like someone who has eyes, but cannot see what is eternal. Do not live like someone who has ears, but cannot hear the word of truth. Do not let the world teach you to define yourself, while the one who created you is still speaking to you with unchanging love. Return to the source of life, my beloved child. Let me water the dry places within you again. Let me remind you that you are not meaningless, not accidental, not forgotten in the vastness of this life. You were created to reflect my light, to bring goodness into dark places, to live by a love deeper than every applause, and to walk in a purpose that is not shaken by outward change. When you remember who you are in me, you will no longer wander in search of identity among passing things. And when you remain close to me, the place that was once barren will bloom again. The place that was once silent will resound with hope again. And the place that was once lost will find the way home again. There are traps that do not appear as dangers. They do not come with a fierce roar, nor do they carry a frightening appearance that makes you immediately avoid them. Often, they come as an opportunity you have long awaited, as an invitation that seems perfectly timed, as a relationship that appears to understand you more than anyone else, as a path promising to help you escape your present pressure. But my child, what makes a snare dangerous is that it knows how to speak the language of the needs within your heart. When you are weary, it promises rest, but pulls you away from true refuge. When you lack recognition, it offers praise, but quietly binds you to dependence on the eyes of others. When you are impatient, it opens a shortcut, but exchanges your peace for a very costly price. Not every short path is grace. Some shortcuts are merely ways of leading you far from the good plan I have for you. I do not want you to become suspicious of everyone, nor do I want you to live in fear, seeing danger wherever you look. What I want to give you is holy watchfulness, an inner sight that knows how to discern between what is truly beautiful and what is merely decorated to deceive. Simplicity is precious, but naivety can cause you to hand what is sacred to places that do not know how to treasure it. Kindness is beautiful, but if it is not joined with wisdom, it can make you open the door to things that wound you. Therefore, let me teach you gentleness that is not weakness, love that is not blind, openness that does not lose its boundaries, and trust that is not in a hurry to place itself into the hands of what has not yet been tested. Under my light, remember the story of Joshua and the Gibeonites. Those people came with worn-out clothes, dry bread, and old wineskins, presenting before their eyes an image that seemed very trustworthy, as though they had traveled from a distant land in search of peace. Their outward appearance made everything seem reasonable. Their words sounded convincing, and the situation appeared to offer enough evidence for a decision. But what was missing there was seeking my counsel. They saw, they heard, they assumed, and then they quickly concluded. Do you see? Even those who have witnessed great power can be deceived if they allow their eyes to replace my guidance. The issue was not only the dry bread or the torn garments, but the fact that human beings easily trust what is skillfully presented, more than they pause to seek the voice from the holy place. Likewise, in your life, there are things that may carry every appearance of a blessing, but do not carry my breath. An offer may raise your status, but cost you your purity. A relationship may make you feel noticed, but gradually draw you away from peace. An opportunity may cause others to admire you, but make you forget the secret place with me. A compliment may soothe an old wound, but also feed the pride that I am trying to heal. Therefore, do not only ask, "Is this good?" Ask more deeply. Does this come from me? Will this bring you closer to me or cause you to drift away? Does this make you freer or more bound? Does this produce peace or only momentary excitement? I know you have emotions, and I do not despise your emotions. I created you with the ability to be moved, to love, to feel, to hope, and to rejoice. But emotions were not created to sit on the throne and lead you. Emotions may signal that something is happening within you, but they are not always the final voice of truth. Sometimes you feel excited because something touches the very desire of your heart, but that excitement is not necessarily confirmation from me. Sometimes you feel afraid because I am inviting you to step into something new, but that fear does not mean you should turn back. Sometimes you feel a false peace because something gives you what you want to hear, but beneath that comfort lies a very subtle deception. Therefore, bring your emotions before me. Do not let your emotions explain everything in my place. Your intuition also needs to be placed under the light. There are times when I truly warn you through a quiet uneasiness, through a hesitation that is hard to name, through the feeling that something is not pure, even when outward evidence is not yet clear. But there are also times when your uneasiness comes from old wounds, from fear that the past will repeat itself, and from memories that have not yet been healed. If you are not close to me, you will easily confuse holy warning with the reaction of pain. Therefore, what you need is not only to listen to your heart, but to let your heart be purified by me, so that the voice within is no longer mixed with fear, pride, loneliness, or the desire to be recognized. My beloved child, practice the habit of pausing before you agree, seeking me before you enter, observing before you give your heart, and waiting before calling something a blessing. What comes from me does not require you to rush in panic. I do not lead you by pressure that makes you so afraid of missing out that you lose discernment. When I open a door, I also give you peace to walk through it. At the right time, when I send a person, I also show you the fruit of humility, honesty, and reverence for what is holy. When I place an opportunity before you, it will not demand that you trade faithfulness in order to receive success. What is from me may challenge you, but it will not defile you. It may require courage, but it will not cause you to lose yourself. It may lead you out of the familiar, but it will not pull you away from my presence. Remember, you do not have to receive everything placed before you. Not every invitation is meant for you. Not every act of kindness is pure. Not every compliment is worth keeping. Not every opportunity should be seized. There are things you refuse today that will become protection for tomorrow. There are doors you do not walk through that will keep you from many years of pain. There are connections you do not rush to open your heart to that will help you preserve the peace I have given. Wisdom does not always make a sound. Often, it is only a quiet decision. You choose to wait for me, even when everything outside is urging you to hurry. Therefore, my child, let me be the one who examines all things before you place your trust in them. Invite me into every proposal. every relationship, every plan, every dream, every door opening before your eyes. Do not fear losing what does not come from me, because no matter how beautiful it appears, it cannot keep you in true peace. Do not mourn a trap simply because it is wrapped in gold. Do not bow your head before flattery if it makes you forget humility. Do not chase what makes you shine before the eyes of the world, but grow dim in the secret place with me. I will teach you to recognize what bears the mark of life and what is only outward glitter. And when you walk in the discernment that comes from me, you will no longer be easily shaken by things that seem good for a moment, because you have learned to seek what is true, what is holy, what endures, and what brings you nearer to my heart.